Yo guys, it's Cross coming back at you with another YouTube video today. If you guys like the content, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and turn that noti bell on. Let's jump right into the video today, guys. So I want to talk a little bit about the time that cops thought I was robbing my own house. I was living with a buddy of mine down the road from my father's house, because at the time I was going through some personal things, but we had this tent set up and we called it the trap tent. Every day and every night we were out there smoking blunts, bumping music, smoking joints, getting baked, eating snacks, hanging out with each other, just having a fun time, watching YouTube videos, sleeping out in the tent in his backyard, in my backyard. So this morning I wake up about 6 or 7 o'clock in the morning and I get out of the tent and I'm like, I got some things on me that I don't really want here that I'm gonna bring to my dad's house, just like stuff that I don't need, you know? So I wake up from the tent and go walk over to the front of the house. I open our bedroom window and I had a shoebox full of stuff that I was gonna take up to my dad's house, like some clothes and stuff like that. And I start walking up the road and someone had apparently called the cops on me. So I'm walking, this cop pulls up behind me and he pulls me over while I'm walking and he's like, I'm going to need you to stand on the side of the road. I got a call that you were burglarizing somebody's house. And I'm like, I'm just walking from my house to my dad's house, man. Like, I'm not doing anything. And he was like, so what's with the fucking attitude? And mind you, I wasn't giving him an attitude. So I'm like, all right, cool. It's going to go this fucking way today. So he starts giving me a problem and giving me wicked attitude and being wicked rude to me. So he goes, I got this phone call that someone wicked suspicious was breaking into people's houses and fucking stealing shit. And you fit the description with your big gauges and your hand tattoos and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well, I live here. You can go knock on the door and ask the kid that I live with if I live here. And he goes, well, if I ask him, he'll probably fucking lie for you. And I said, well, why would he lie for me? If I robbed him, don't you think he would tell you that I robbed him and I'm stealing his stuff and to arrest me? Why would he lie for me and defend me? Because that's just like fucking logic, right? But the cop's like, oh, you want to be a fucking smart ass, blah, 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 blah. So I'm like, all right, you're going to keep being rude to me and saying shit to me and you could go fuck yourself. Like, I'm not dealing with you. And he goes, well, I'm gonna lock you up for burglary and you'll never walk this fucking trailer park ever the fuck again. I'll make sure you won't see the daylight from a fucking jail cell, seeing how you want to be a fucking scumbag. So I was like, all right, you want to play this fucking way, dick mouth? Bring your fucking higher up over here. I want to speak to the chief of police. Let me speak to him because I'm not dealing with you, fucking private. So me and Private Dickmouth are arguing, going back and forth for quite some time, and then the chief of police comes down and he asks me what the problem is. So I tell him, this guy stopped me because apparently someone thinks I'm being suspect and sketchy and robbing people. Why don't you go ask the dude that I live with if I live with him or not? Because if I live with him, then that proves this theory that I'm not fucking stealing from people and he's not going to defend me if I'm robbing him. And the chief goes, okay, well, yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense. So let's go ask him. So they go and ask the kid and he's like, yeah, he lives with me. He didn't steal anything, all this shit, this, that, and the third. Then the cop asks me, okay, well, what was in the shoebox that you were carrying? I said, well, you know, just some clothes and stuff like that I'm bringing up to my dad's, who lives right up the road, and his address is still on my ID if you would like to see that. So they take my ID, they take all my information, then they're like, we're gonna ask you one more time what's in the shoebox. And let me tell you, there was quite a little bit of fucking weed in that shoebox, but I didn't want to tell them that because they pulled me over for suspicion and didn't have the right to search me when they proved the theory that I was no longer a suspect in a burglary assumption, I guess you could call it. So I'm fighting with Private Dickmouth and I'm like, I'm not telling you what the fuck is in this goddamn shoebox because there's no reason for me to tell you that. This is already over. I don't need to speak to you anymore. I'm all set. I'm able to walk away now. You're not detaining me and you're not arresting me. And he goes, well, actually, I am detaining you because I need to know what's in that shoebox. So I'm arguing with them, yelling back and forth with them, and I'm like, you're not detaining me. Like, this is fucking stupid. This is bullshit. You're wasting my time. I need to go to my dad's house. So the motherfucker handcuffs me and puts me in front of the police car and then makes me sit down wicked aggressively with my hands behind my back and the shoebox up on the hood of his cop car, like his SUV. And I'm like, I'm not telling you what's in the fucking box. You got me handcuffed. Go through it anyways, because I know you're going to. So there's no fucking point in me telling you. And he's being wicked rude. So I'm like, you know what? I'm fucking done dealing with you. I'm only dealing with the chief at this point. You can go fuck yourself. You're being negative, rude, and you're being an asshole. And the chief tells the private, well, you can go back to the police station. You're on desk duty for the rest of the month because you want to keep interfering with my case. And if you want, you can stick around and see how the rest of this goes, but you're not going to be on the streets for the rest of the month. So, of course, I'm laughing my ass off because at this point I was on the run. They didn't search my ID, nothing like that, and I was actually running from felony theft cases. I did a video on the shoes that I stole. If you guys want to check that out, it'll be in the playlist up in the top right. But yeah, luckily, I know all the cops, but I didn't know the private, so the chief of police was being cool with me. He didn't know that I was on the run. He didn't search my name to see if I had any warrants or bench warrants, which I did at the time. And this is what's funny to me. He's basically cucking the cop, the private, and he's like, okay, Mr. Blah, 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 what's in your shoebox? Like, I'm going to ask you one last time. You didn't want to deal with the private, so you could deal with me. So I'm like, okay, there's weed in the shoebox. It's stuffed in some clothes, and, you know, I didn't think I was going to get pulled over, so whatever. And he goes, okay, well, how much weed is it? I'm like, I don't know. It's probably like a quarter, maybe. And he's like, okay, well, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to ask you to take the grinder that's in the box. I'm going to unhandcuff you. And what I want you to do is grind up all the weed that's in the shoebox. And I'm like, fuck. It wasn't actually a quarter. It was probably like an ounce and a half. But he made me stick every goddamn nug into my grinder, take the bottom of my grinder off, and grind all of my weed into the dirt. And then he goes, I know how you kids are. You're going to come back over and probably want to pick it up because it's ground up, and you're probably going to pick through it and sift through it and want to smoke it. And I'm like, fuck. So he makes me wipe my shoes all over the weed in the dirt and smear it in the dirt and like mush it around in the mud on the side of the road. And then he let me go. And, you know, he was a cool cop. I'm thankful for him. He fucking saved my ass, didn't charge me with weed or paraphernalia. The other cop was harassing me. Technically, they couldn't have fucked with me, but he knew there was something up with the shoebox, and the private was definitely going to abuse his power a little bit on me, and he wasn't allowing that, which I'm very thankful for. If you guys like the content, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I love you guys. This was a funny story I just wanted to tell.